All right, our final topic for atmosphere is air pollution. So, basic definition of air pollution is the introduction of particulates, biological molecules, or other harmful materials into the Earth's atmosphere, causing disease, death to humans, damage to other living organisms such as food crops, or the natural or built environment. Air pollution may come from anthropogenic or natural sources. So I think most of the time when we think about air pollution, we're thinking about stuff we're doing, but Mother Nature also does stuff. A forest fire, that and the smoke it releases, that is air pollution. So one of the types of air pollution out there is smog. We don't worry about that too much here, but if you've ever been to LA, it's a whole different thing there. The air pollution with smog is heavy in that area. It's a form of air pollution produced by the photochemical reaction of sunlight with hydrocarbons and nitrogen oxides that have been released in the atmosphere, especially from your car. So emission from your tailpipe of your car. And then we got a nice little diagram showing you how it works. You got to react with the sunlight there, and it's going to create that nasty smog. Here's a picture of LA with the smog. It's pretty nasty. Some of the effects of smog is that it does lower children's IQ, while also raising the risk for Alzheimer's disease. A new study out there has found that children living in highly polluted cities are at an increased risk for detrimental effects to the brain, including short-term memory loss. Here's Mexico City, another area with a lot of smog. Another type of air pollution is called ground ozone pollution. Now, we mentioned ozone in the upper atmosphere, in the stratosphere, as being a good thing, but when it's down on the ground, it's a bad thing. It is an odorless gas made by 3 oxygen atoms connected together. It can be good or bad, like I said. Ozone at the ground level where we breathe is bad because it can harm human health. It forms when 2 types of pollutants react in sunlight, and these pollutants come from sources such as vehicles, industries, power plants, solvents, paints, and it includes some health problems like coughing, breathing difficulty, lung damage. It can aggravate lung diseases like emphysema or asthma. And we actually have this. If you ever watch the weather, especially in the summertime, they will actually have an ozone alert, and they'll be talking about how bad ozone ground. And when they talk about ozone, they're talking about ground ozone in the area. So, should you stay indoors or not stay indoors? So, should you be concerned? Yeah, somewhat, depending on what's going on in your world. And March 29, 2015, there was some work being done, research. New research in mice suggests breathing high levels of ozone could affect a woman's ability to conceive. Surprise, surprise. So you can see top 10 cities for ozone. LA. A lot of them are in California, and that's not really surprising, especially if it's, once again, stuff coming out. If it's being caused by stuff coming out of the tailpipe of your car. Los Angeles and that area, they do a lot of driving, a lot of commuting. You think the traffic jams are bad here. They're much worse in that area, and the commutes there are much worse. So people are constantly in their cars. Not surprised about the Washington area once again, because if you've ever been in that area, the traffic jams are horrible and people commute into the DC area from all the suburbs around it. And this is the air quality index for ozone. So a lot of times they'll talk about it's a red day for ozone, and basically that means if you have some lung issues, you should be staying indoors. It's not considered healthy for you. Another type of pollution is particle pollution, sometimes called particulate matter. And a lot of these are microscopic stuff you can't necessarily see with your eye, solids that are suspended in the air, and they can get in your lung tissue and cause problems. And they have discovered that when there's a lot of particulate pollution, the risk of heart attacks go up. Where does this come from? Coal-fired power plants, diesel emission from trucks, buses, construction equipment, wood stoves, and forest fires. Who is affected? Everyone, of course, but the very young and the elderly tend to have a little bit more problems. Some high-risk groups include, once again, kids, African American, the elderly, people with heart diseases, people like asthma, emphysema, those who work and exercise outdoors, who might be getting a lot more of this in their system than everybody else. And you can put a kind of stop on this right here, because this has got some really great information about toxins. Some of this stuff they put in the is put in the air and where they're located at in the North Carolina area. So here's how those particulate matter can affect us, respiratory and cardiovascular systems. And this is where I was talking about the rate of heart attacks goes up. Acid rain. We've talked about acid rain already in here. It is precipitation from rain, sleet, or snow that contains acids from air pollution, usually caused by the burning of fossil fuels, which releases sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere. They react with the water vapor, and eventually, along with the whole water cycle, they'll end up coming down in the form of precipitation. You got some pictures here of acid rain issues, including the top one, which is really cool. That's the same area, and you can see in 63 versus 1983 the differences. And I love the statue one, because you should not find that much change in the statue, because that one's been around for a long time, and just in about 60 years, look at the difference. Some issues with acid rain. There's one called acidification. And this is when the acid rain causes the soil acidity to increase, which in turn causes some nutrients to be dissolved, which in turn basically means those nutrients the plants need, they get washed away when it rains, and the poor little plant is starving for nutrients. It also causes aluminum and other toxic metals to be released from the soil into the plants. So not only are they hungry and not getting the nutrients they need, they are also getting slowly poisoned. You can also have something called acid shock. If you have a lot of acid rain in the area, and you have like a pond or a lake or a river, and you have continual amounts of this stuff entering in the water, you can have acid shock, which causes fish to die, and it causes problems with amphibians and other organisms that lay eggs in the water. Another source of air pollution is indoor air pollution, and this is an uncomfortable thing which we don't normally think about. But a lot of the neat stuff we have in our homes, it actually releases pollution into the air that we breathe, like insulation in our homes that keeps your bills in the summer and the winter down, keeps you warm and cool, and like I said, drops those utility bills. Mold spores. I just moved from a rental home that had tons of mold in it due to some issues with the air and heat in that home, and it was miserable for us with our asthma and with our sinuses. Your printers, your photocopiers in your room and your office. Bacteria in the kitchen, cooking pollutants, your fireplace, dust mites, pet hair, formaldehyde in wood and carpeting. Carbon monoxide and gas and solvents and pesticides and herbicides that may be stored in your garage. In your basement, you may have mold issues, carbon monoxide issues, radon issues. So there's tons of stuff. And what makes it even worse, everybody loves these new homes, which are supposed to be green and keep the heat in the wintertime and the cool in the summertime. And they drop your utility bills crazily. But they're kind of like airtight. So all the stuff ends up staying in these new homes and not leaking out, which is not so much of a good thing. The older homes, which your utility bills go up, but there's a give and take from the outside to the inside, so things aren't quite as bad at that point. So some of the issues with indoor air quality that's bad, you can have dizziness, headaches, watery eyes, nausea, vomiting, coughing, asthma, lung cancer, muscle pain, rashes, chest pain, fever, chills, nosebleeds, ear infections, hearing loss. And your top 3 indoor air pollutants are radon, which we've talked about like crazy in here, tobacco smoke, and biological sources like mold. All right. Thanks so much, guys.